You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Minute To Skim It. It's me, Liam.
Shanice. Hi.
So, if you don't know how this show works, we do spoiler-free reviews once a week, every Tuesday, and try to give you the best, honest review, I guess, on what you should pick up this week. So, there wasn't a whole lot of number ones this week, unfortunately, and there have been a ton of delays the last few weeks. Hello. Don't yell at your LCS for whatever you're wanting to pick up. We've all been having issues nationwide on stuff coming out. There's been a ton, like I said, there's been a ton of delays. It's not just indies. Everybody across the board has been having all kinds of delays. So just please don't yell at us if we don't have the book that you're looking for. And I guess I'll just knock out 2 and then we'll be even. Until My Knuckles Bleed, it was a one-shot that came out this week. I don't know. It was funny. I mean, it wasn't horrendous, but it was, I don't know. It was very much aware of the fourth wall, but like to a point that I was like, I don't know. I didn't personally think it was funny. Sometimes it can come off okay. But personally, I just thought it was like too much. Like sometimes in movies they break the fourth wall, kind of like in Fight Club. Yeah. But it was just too much. Like they were trying to make it funny, and it really wasn't. The concept was really good. Just if they didn't have the fourth wall breaks, I feel like it would have been a lot better. And it was a high storyline, to be fair, too. So, yeah.
So what's it about exactly?
So essentially, this guy is, I guess, in like group therapy, rehab. It's never really established. It's, I guess, like implied that he's in group therapy, but there's never an established reason why. And so he's telling the story of what got him here. And it's like a whole like team up thing, and it's like him mourning over his I guess like colleagues' deaths, and everything that came along with it. And him and another character that's not even part of the team up. I don't really know why he was there. Like that's what made me like kind of confused. I was like, you're breaking the fourth wall, but like why? You weren't even part of the group. So you don't even know what's going on. Essentially he's just going over this like whole thing of like, I saw my whole group die while we were trying to like steal this. It's never explained kind of why he was stealing anything. It's just all over the place. If you like the fourth wall breaks that have no plot premise, I mean, it's a one shot, to be fair. Can't really do anything there. I don't actually know really what the story is, other than it was a fourth wall breaking storyline that involved a heist and a person dying.
So was it more like style over substance?
Yeah, essentially, because it's a completely black and white comic, and like that's about it. Like the art in it is gorgeous, but the story in it is just, it's not really there, I guess. Yeah. If you do like the one shots that the one shots that Behemoth has been putting out, pick it up.
Actually, it's gonna be Samaria now.
Samaria,
yeah. Changed new name change.
Yeah, because like they actually have Behemoth in Sumerian, but this was, I think, before they got the rights to name change. Yeah. So yeah, it is going to be Sumerian for now on. Mostly because they're completely different. They're completely different artists, completely different people. Just it's great, and I love where they're going. But Otherwise, if you like black and white storylines and you like the haha funny fourth wall breaking story kind of things, go with it. But I felt like it was kind of unnecessary. So, anyways, I'll just knock out my bottom shelf. Lovecraft, Unknown Cadaf. Really, honestly, for a Lovecraft story, it was really good. They do acknowledge two Lovecraft characters, Pickman, and I can't remember who the other person was, but I was like, oh, references. That's about it. Like, it's really cool. I will warn, the one thing I will warn, there is animal cruelty in this, but not from humans. I'll just put that out there. It's not from humans. I don't know why it's there though. That's the thing. It's just a random, just cat. But otherwise, so the whole premise is this dude is trying to find a Lovecraftian-esque world. I can't really remember the name of it at the moment. But he's trying to find this thing, like to solve like a mystery. It's a usual Lovecraft-esque story. I'm giving it to you for this. Sorry, hold on. Let me see. So Lovecraft is a horrible person. He's a horrible person. The fact that there is a black cat in it is so sweetly ironic if you know anything about Lovecraft. The one beef that I do have with it is that so they use the same font for every single character, and like there's a Lovecraftian mythos kind of creature that's in this. These guys, like these little black creatures, are called Zorgs, or Zoogs, I think. There's a Z. I thought it said 2006, if I'm being completely honest. And then I saw a plural, and I was like, oh, that's a Z, not a 2. And so, essentially, he asks these creatures, like, where this thing is. They're not antagonists, but they're also not a protagonist. They just exist. I guess they know where this world is, essentially. All of the creatures in the mythos are all gods, like not just Cthulhu, like all of them. Or I guess all the big bats are all gods. So they just don't, like, I feel like they could have had, so the font in it is like how those things should have had the font, but everybody in it has the exact same font. So it's really hard to distinguish characters. But otherwise, the story in it is really cool. There's, I guess, an alcohol or a liquor called moon wine, which I'm like, if I'm still drinking, I'd honestly love to drink that. Otherwise, I mean, if you like Lovecraft, which I might honestly continue reading this, besides the font thing, because I have a soft spot for Lovecraft storylines. He's, like I said, he's a terrible person, but his stories are pretty, like, I don't know, they're really good. So I can't really say anything. It's a bit all over the place, and there are 3 pages at the end that are just walls of text, that give, like, if you know anything, like the synopsis of any of the Lovecraft stories, you don't really need to read the last 3 pages. It just gives you a general setup of, like, it should have been put at the beginning and not at the end, because it's more so a prologue than epilogue. So, I mean, I skimmed it, like, a little bit, obviously, but, like, because I don't want to read a wall of text while I'm reading a comic. That's not what I'm here for. If I wanted to read a wall of text, I'd read a novel. But it does kind of make sense, because the way that they wrote it was going to be really hard to explain in like a comic format. But I don't know, like, it was just like, if you know anything Lovecraft, like anything whatsoever, it's about all you really need to know. That was the only thing that, like, it was like hey, this dude doesn't technically exist in the Lovecraft lore, but we're forcing him to. So it just explains how he got to the point of the beginning, which I'm like, that could have not been at the end. You could have put that in the beginning and given it like a synopsis and not like a whole, like, 3 pages of a novel. Otherwise, the art in it is gorgeous. The art on the cover is the exact same. The art on the cover is the exact same on the inside, and it's just gorgeous art, if I'm being honest. I just have beef with the font. Anyways.
All right.
Weird transitions.
So, let's start off with Midnight Suns from Marvel, obviously.
Actually, I almost grabbed that this week.
So, this is actually the first Midnight Suns book that I've ever actually read, and just going from the going from the lineup, I'm assuming this will be the lineup used for the upcoming video game.
Oh.
But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I really wanted to read it because Nico, right there, she's in it, and she's from one of my favorite comics of all time, Runaways.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's basically like we see on the cover, except for Wolverine, but like in Blade, I guess, but like a magic-based Marvel characters just tearing it up, and it was a lot of fun. I've never read the original Midnight Suns books, so I can't really compare it, but it's a good jumping in point for people who want to know more about these characters. Maybe drum up some more excitement for the game, which I'm really looking forward to. And yeah, I mean, I can't really be too nitpicky about it. Like, the book knows exactly what it is. It's a really fun, like, horror action comic. I'm looking forward to seeing the next couple of issues, because there's a lot of setup in this issue, and I'm really excited for the second issue. I might actually end up putting this on my pull box.
Oh wow!
So I really did like it, and Blade.
Was it a really good teaser into his new comic that's coming out? Or
it'll get you hyped for it, and there are some advertisements for other characters coming in. Like, so it's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it was a genuinely fun book. Like, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's not like super groundbreaking, but sometimes you just need to read just fun.
So it seems like you didn't have to read the original series in order to understand. Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to. So, which I really enjoyed. I guess I can kind of compare it to the new Fantastic Four book that came out a couple of weeks ago, which I loved, and it was a really good jumping in point if you weren't familiar with that lineup like I was. But it made me want to go check out the older books. Mm-hmm. So same thing with Midnight Suns. It makes me want to just read the older titles just to kind of compare the two. And it made me want to just break out my Runaways books again and just read it because Nico.
I loved that. I love that so much. Like I said, I almost grabbed that this week. I kind of want to pick it up and read it at some point this week now. If we have any more copies when I come back on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then I guess I'll do Masquerade. So I talk about this a lot. So the way that I got introduced to comics was Comic Book Men, the show that was on AMC for a while. I say that to everybody, and I'll never shut up about it, because that show literally got me into my love of comics and I really wanted to go to a comic store after that, but Northern Colorado had more, not really Southern Colorado, which was a shame. Anyways, the reason why I say that is because this is a Kevin Smith book. And they also tease Secret Stash at the very end, which is his comic shop, which that is my dream to go to if I'm ever in Jersey. And I loved it. I thought it was so good. And so the very first page, they acknowledge TikTok, and I was mentioning this to Kyle beforehand, and then Shanice walked in halfway through that conversation. And I feel like a lot of comics lately have been very much talking about TikTok from those young kids kind of thing. And it's really not. It's honestly a really good version of people are making money off of TikTok, and people are using this as a career, which is fine. People can make money off of TikTok. And they honestly acknowledge that, which is really nice. And it's a fairly realistic to what could be happening kind of situation. And I really can't say much because it'll spoil a lot. But the conversations in it are genuine real people conversations, and two people walk past the billboard of a TikToker who that's in the beginning having a TV show, and acknowledging a real conversation that people do have online and in person about TikTokers getting TV shows. And I don't know, like it's I'm trying to think. Because I just started watching The Boys, so and just started reading it. So the dude who can, I guess, transform. I just read volume 2, but I guess the dude who can transform is essentially the. Well, I can't really spoil anything, but that's essentially that person's power. It's not really a spoiler; it's just a general setup. If that's a spoiler, I'm so sorry. But it's really good, and I feel like it's for the first time, and like most of the comics that I've been reading that involve social media, it does not feel like it's been written by 2 grown white men that don't know anything about social media. It feels really nice, and I like that. I like that transparency. It's fantastic. And it just, like I said, it feels real. Like it feels like a real situation that could be happening. Anyhow. What's next for you?
All right, next is going to be Dark Space's Wildfire. I will maintain that this is like top 3 comics coming out right now. If you're not familiar with the storyline, it follows a line of firefighters who are fighting a wildfire. When one of them comes up with the bright idea to to do a heist in the middle of said wildfire. So of course this goes as well to be expected. This issue 3, follows them mid-heist, and they discover something in a house that they're in, and it's like, oh well, this got more complicated than what we expected. This issue kind of in this issue we find out more of one of the main characters and her backstory and what happened to her daughter, which had been teased in the first 2 issues, but seeing what happened to her kid and what happened to her, you're instantly like, you know what, I want them to get away with it. I want them to get away with this heist because these poor women have been through so much. And something happens in the last 2 pages where you're just like, well, this threw a wrench in plans, I guess, besides the wildfire happening in the background. I really do love this series. It keeps getting better and better with each issue. And issue 1 tells you that it's not going to have a happy ending for every single character. And what happens in here, it's like, okay, I start to see what's going to happen to these characters. Even though I don't want it to happen, but fine. But yeah, if you're looking for crime thriller comics with a very interesting twist to it, I can't recommend this book enough. It's really, really good, and I would highly suggest that you jump on it now because it's a fantastic book that'll break your heart with every single issue. But yeah, it's great. 10 out of 10.
I kind of want to give that a second chance then, because I read the first issue on here. And that's my phone on the ground. And with how much you've been talking about how good it is, I really do want to give it a second chance, because I've heard really good things, but I'm like, I know too much about the Wildfire service, and I don't know if I'm going to like it. But knowing that it's a heist book, that's a good heist book, kind of want to check it out now and just give it a second chance. Well then, that was a short. Predator issue 2. It does the same thing that it did with the first issue, just to give a bit of a synopsis. So the first issue, this girl's family and like whole crew on the ship that she's living on, which is the Sunstrider, I believe, they stop and try to refuel on the Predator's planet. So I don't want to nerd out on Predator knowledge. But essentially, the Predators are in the middle of their hunting time where it makes them worthy or they die. So they're right in the middle of that. And then they land then, and she watches her whole family die. And it's so depressing. And so she's sent up into space, and she's living there for the next like 15 years, and her entire life is trying to hunt down and kill the Predator that killed her whole family and killed everybody that she loved. And then this is just a little bit of like a not really, it's not plot, but it does get it set up to there's a big old spoiler at the end, but it does get it set up to the next issue, which I feel like it's a really good transition, and also showing that she is still just a kid. She's a teenager in this, so she's just a kid just trying to live. And she living on a ship by herself for the last 10 to 15 years kind of says a lot of how much she doesn't do well with people. And genuinely, like, I think that's because I have a ton of bias, but I'm loving how the series has been going, and I feel like it's honestly the best translation to horror media that I've ever seen, or physical media that I've ever seen for Predator, because I've seen the video games, I've watched other movies, for at one point in my life, I lived with a massive Predator fan who taught me a lot about the series that I would never have known otherwise. And honestly, this is really, really good. And it does, again, give you the timeline of events in the movies, not in the books or in like any of the media online. So yeah, if you like Predator, absolutely pick up this series. It's going to get really intense, and especially with that Alien series that just got launched. So yeah.
Mine is the next one. It's going to be The Flash, the fastest man alive. So I read this just out of more of a curiosity because it's a tie-in to the Flash movie that's supposed to be coming out at some point in our lifetimes. So I went into it like I try to give every book a shot, but with this one I'm like, with all the drama following the movie, I was like, I don't know about this one, but it was actually really solid. It's basically like so it's the book takes place between what I'm assuming the Justice League film that came out and the inevitable Flash movie that should be coming out fairly soon. So you see Barry like striking out on his own, trying to do his own thing, work in Central City. Hello. And you see him like, because it's his first time out, he makes mistakes, but you're still, it's a Flash, you're gonna root for him. Yeah. So what really surprised me about it, it's like, because it's supposed to be a 3-issue miniseries, but truth be told, I mean, this could have been a one-shot. I don't mean that like in a bad way, but it's like, what else? I mean, what are the other 2 issues? Like, what are they going to touch on that could have been in like just one big like maxi book? But yeah, I really liked it. I was like, okay, this is actually really fun characterization for him. But again, like just that little thought in the back of my mind, it's like, man, like and I know separate, the behind the scenes drama from what you see on the screen, but it's like when you're seeing that like all summer long and it's like, okay, this, I wonder how they're going to pull this off in the final film. It, I guess in a roundabout way, like I really did like it, which again surprised me, and I don't usually try to go into like books with like low like expectations, but it's like, oh, this is genuinely fun. It almost makes you want to like check out the movie, but like
with everything that's been happening with Ezra Miller,
right?
Yeah.
And it's just weird because it's a genuinely fun book, and in a alternate universe where there's like no drama, no nothing, I think people will be like, oh yeah, this book is really good. But now it's like, oh, this book is great. Oh, tie into this movie. So,
but the man who's playing the Flash is a terrible person,
right? And it's one of those things like because you do wonder, it's like, okay, why is Warner Brothers so like just so hell bent on like having this movie come out with everything going on? Maybe I kind of see what's going on. Like if the script is good as this, and I'm like, okay, I'll be down.
I am worried that this is after everything that's been happening with Warner Brothers, which if you don't know, you got to read it because there's a lot that's been going on in the background with Warner Brothers, and I feel like this is slowly turning into them starting to fight for the top of anything and competing with everything that's been going on with like everything that Disney has been releasing. I feel like they're just trying to make as much money and then just file for bankruptcy in the next couple of years. Because I feel like with everything that's been happening with Ezra Miller, and especially with them pulling all kinds of stuff off of streaming sites, not just, I mean, yeah, comics wise, they've been killing off a lot of their comic shows, which is a shame. And what was it, Batgirl or something?
It was Batgirl.
Yeah, with all that, I feel like they're just, I don't know. That's my beef. That's my beef with Warner Brothers at the moment.
And also for like a movie tie-in book, the art, it's really solid. I liked it a lot.
Sounds good. Well, then, True Cult. There's some good transition. True Cult number 2 picks up immediately after the last issue. So you didn't read the last issue, you really need to. If you didn't and you want a spoiler-free review, I reviewed this last month as well. And so essentially this dude who is working at a dead-end job is like, no, I'm done, I'm poor, and then proceeds to rob an entire shopping center right across the street from where he works on his break, nonetheless. And so at the very end, he gets knocked out, and then it picks up in this issue, him getting thrown in a van. And there are 2 parallel storylines going on at the same time. What's going on with him and what's going on with his manager. And it just, I can't say anything because the entire thing is just like what's going on paralleling. And his manager starting to realize, because him and his manager are friends. And she's like saved him many a times from him possibly being fired by the district manager. And she's like, okay, he's not like this. Where is he? And it's just a fun thing. And I will mention, if you are just not a fan of mentions, not just the involvement, but just mentioning of satanic worshiping, that's just something I will throw out there if you are weary to it. There's nothing that happens. It's just if you don't like those mentionings, that's what I'm going to warn. Because I feel like there's going to be a lot more like involvement. Because I mean, the entire thing is involving like a whole background plot of a satanic cult that lives in the town. Which the first issue, I thought it was going to go in like the wacky Clerks 2 specifically kind of things. But no. But if you do like that kind of like quirky kind of thing that comes along with it, I guess it's not super dark. It's kind of funny. It has dark humor in it. Pick it up because I feel like it's going to take off, especially with the humor that's in this. So yes, that's all I got to say on that.
So 10,000 Black Brothers. One. So yeah, I was actually looking forward to this one, and I had no idea it was going to come out this week, so this is a very happy surprise for me. I read The Passageway through the recommendation of a friend, and you don't necessarily have to read that book to read this one. Like you can go into this one, completely blind. But I would recommend that you check out The Passageway. You can get at your local comic store, because there are references to it, not like super blatant references, but just references like, aha, it's from, I get it, I see the connections. I really, really liked it. It creeped me out in the middle of daytime here. So, but it makes sense considering who the creative team is, Lemire and Sorrentino. And again, this is just another hit from them. And it doesn't happen often, but when you read a comic book and you just start to feel just creeped out, like something just kind of like crawling down your back, like this book really does it well. And the last page, it's going to stay with me for a while. And I'm really looking forward just to reading the rest of the series and reading other books like in this mythos, which I believe that there should be, I think, 2 or 3 more coming out. But yeah, really, really liked it. If you're able to, like, you can go into it completely blind. Like, don't read anything about it. Just jump right in. Makes the experience so much better. I don't want to spoil too much about it because Kyle mentioned he hadn't read it yet, or he wanted to. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't want to read anything else. So I'll try to keep this as brief as I possibly can. So I'm going to go next.
I've actually been needing to start that series. That's a massive coincidence. So Flavor Girls number 3. So I'm gonna warn you. It says everywhere it says 3 of 3. It is not. It is not the end of the series. I think they're really thick copies, like really thick. You can't even tell, but it's a lot. But the art in it seems like it's hand done, so it takes a while for it to be made. So it's not the end of the series. Everywhere you're gonna see it is. It is not. It's just the end for the moment. It's the end of the arc. But it's also, this was a lot, like the first 10 pages is just exclusively like no dialogue panels. It is gorgeous art, tons of shading, beautiful. It is hilarious. It is absolutely 100% a parody of Sailor Moon. And I love it. I love parodies. That's my thing. And it touches on a lot more backstory of her character, the dragon flute hero. And it's a really, really good backstory. I was flipping through and I was like, I recognize this character. It's really good. It's definitely explaining a lot of the villains at the moment. It's very out there, and I was like, this is really the end of the series. And then I was like, oh, they have a little banner at the end of the end, but stay tuned. And I was like, oh, that's nice to know. I was gonna be very angry if that was the end of the series. So if you like Sailor Moon parodies, absolutely find the issue 1 of this and start there, because you can't just jump in. There's backgrounds. But the art in it is gorgeous and they're really good. And it's just, they have an end horror story at the end that they've been doing for I think since the last issue they started it. It's quality. I love it. Pick it up if you like that kind of thing. Anyhow.
Star Trek Lower Decks, number 1. Mm-hmm. This is another book I was really, really looking forward to because I love the show so much. And if I'm missing a beat, like if you're a fan of the show, then you're gonna love this. If you never watched Star Trek Lower Decks, then I still recommend it because it's so funny. And this is actually the first Star Trek comic that I ever actually read.
Oh wow!
So I was very happy it was this one. Nothing I can really say, like it has the same humor as the show, and it's from Ryan North. And if you're not familiar with how his books are, he'll have like little like lines at the bottom of the page, just like commentary, just these really funny like one-liners and zingers. There are some really meta ones, like in regards to sounds of how a certain weapon sounds, like pew pew pew, which is really funny. Pointing out the shape of the ships, and it's such a blast. I guess just for spoiler reasons, I will say you may want to like watch at the very least season 2 of the show, only because there's a few references to what happens at the end of it, and something that happens like in the show that might be a spoilery. So at least be caught up with the show. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Where can we stream it? Because I kind of want to start it.
Paramount Plus.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's. That's what I was thinking about a line in the comic. But yeah, it's perfect because the show's airing right now with the new season, and it's if it's like I guess like between seasons, like it's a really fun comic to read because it like tides you over. But yeah, so just Lower Deck shenanigans that could have been easily prevented if it wasn't for her in Pointler. So it's again, if you're a Trekkie, if you're not a Trekkie, definitely do check it out. If you want a really fun comedy book to read, check it out. If you like Lower Decks and you're just waiting for the next episode to come out, check it out. I have not shown about this show since it started airing. Same with what's the other one? Strange New Worlds, which I really loved as well. So read the book. Read it.
Star Trek.
It's Star Trek. Read it. It's great. even he's doing this, and we'll do it. Right.
It's a radically different. Super. Oh, this is not a funny series. Oh, I don't know how to come. I feel like IDW has like been showing up everything that's been released lately. So if you don't know what's been going on with There's Something Wrong with Patrick Todd. The very first issue, he has telepathy, and he has been mind controlling people into robbing banks, so he can pay for his mom, who's currently in a institution, or psych hospital, I should say, but it's essentially an institution anyhow. And his dad's not in the picture. The next issue that comes out, it's implied. It is implied that the person who's in it is his dad. That's I can't say much, but that's not it. And you can definitely see that Patrick Todd is a kid trying to be a kid. It seems like he was a senior in high school and then dropped out with no explanation why. And there are flyers up looking for him everywhere throughout the city. And they're slowly starting to realize that the people who robbed the banks were not aware and didn't know what was happening and didn't know why they were doing it until they were getting arrested. And they were like, what happened? I robbed a bank? There's evidence. And it's a great storyline. I've been throwing it at everybody here. And they're like, not really my thing. And I'm like, please, it's so good. And it's just a good story. Anyhow.
So my final book, it's The Revealer from Vault Comics. It is a one-shot, and it's the second movie tie-in this week, apparently. So it's all weird that I remember two movie tie-ins. It's funny that it's both in the same week. So I will say this: you definitely gotta watch the film first that this comic is tied to, because you will be very lost. But I do like. It's gonna sound terrible. Like this book, like it had vibes. It had like, that's the best way I can try. It just so you understand what I'm like.
Yes.
So the art in the book and the writing, like it's great, but man, like it's a tie-in that it's if I had to compare it to like The Flash, you know, it's like of course we haven't watched the movie yet, but you know it's still enjoyable. It's still good.
Yeah.
And this isn't bad, but it's just like, what am I reading? And but I like what I'm seeing because you know it's pretty.
Yeah.
Now the movie, I do remember because I follow a lot of like horror bloggers, people on Twitter who are like super into horror. So I've heard about the movie, and at some point this week I am gonna watch it and then just jump back to this comic and say, oh okay, it all makes sense. But it was just like, okay, this is cool. I like it, I think. But it's like trying to read a book like at night with like a little like pinpoint light, and you're not getting the full story because you're trying to like get this little bit, and it was, I don't want to say like it was like a frustrating read, but it's like, man, I don't know, like it, like I was gonna watch the movie because again I like horror, but it's, if I was anyone else I'd be like, well, it makes me not want to check it out because I don't know what's going on. So it is short stories like in this book, and it's a complete like one and done. But it's got good vibes. This rolls so good vibes. But yeah, I guess check out the movie on Shudder,
which is a streaming service for horror. Which,
You can watch it free for the first couple days.
You get a 7-day free trial. Use whatever. I was gonna make a joke about Dead Meat, but I can't remember what his promo code is for Shudder.
Dead Meat. He may have talked about the movie. They may have talked about the movie. So it's like it's got good vibes. Like and I know me not in a snarky way. Like I truly do like the aesthetic of the book. I really do. It's just like what is happening, because it goes from like this like heavy metal-esque like story, which is great, but then it's like, okay, there's tentacles in a sex issue, okay, or not, and again that sounds terrible, but I mean, just look at the front cover. But yes, if you like neon colors and you can blast like a synthwave soundtrack while reading this book, you're golden, I feel.
I almost picked it up because I saw the B cover of this, which is I think it's the girl in the boots, or no, in the fishnet standing next to the girl in the skirt, sitting on a chair in a very
provocative.
I was like, what? Because I was trying to figure out what it was about, and I only saw the B immediately on Previews World. I was like, what is this?
Right. And the movie, like it ties into, like it sounds like a genuinely fun movie I do want to check out, because it takes place in the 80s at the end of the world, and this woman, like the cover that Liam mentioned, is a performer. And she is a very, very devout religious woman. So they have to team up and survive the apocalypse. And I really do want to watch this movie just based on that premise. But I should have watched that first and then jumped into this book. But good vibes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Jen has requested me to show off some of the graphic novels. Should have mentioned this to you beforehand. I am so sorry. We have a ton of graphic novels here, so I can't. Oh, so many. There is an Animal Crossing manga in here though, that I actually almost grabbed to read, but I realized it was issue 3. These are all going to be on our live shopping or our live show next on our own page and CBSN, or the Comic Book Shopping Network, if you want to tune in on Facebook. And so this is Joker and Harley in Gotham, heinous acts of violence and a daily occurrence. Harley Quinn, forensic psychiatrist and profiler, consult the GCPD on their worst case, but she is hyper-fixated on an unsolved murder that haunts her. The night that she discovers her roommate's body, marked with the signature of the notorious serial killer known as the Joker. 5 years later, the case remains unsolved, and a new series of horrific killings has begun. As the murders escalate, the meticulous constructed crime scenes become more elaborate. Harley's obsession with finding the depraved psychopath responsible leads her down a dangerous path when the past and present finally collide. Harley has to decide how far she is willing to go and how many lines she is willing to cross and solve these cases once and for all. Sorry. It was a very long synopsis. But, I mean, it's Joker and Harley, so, yeah.
Show the cover.
Yes. Animal Crossing, radically different energy.
All right. So, just going just really quickly, just kind of going through the trades we have. Animal Crossing. Let's see, Hit Me, which I've actually heard very good things about, and just going by the character design makes me think I would really love this book. Let's see, Bird King.
Ooh.
Oh, wow, that actually looks
I've heard
really
that's
dope.
really good. I've heard really good things about it.
Very nice.
Wings of Fire, we finally got in the graphic novel version.
Secret Empire. Say, working at a comic store when this book came out was a lot of fun, I tell you that much. See,
Cool.
There's Lower Your Sights, which is a book. It does benefit the citizens of the Ukraine. Definitely do check it out. It's a little bit helps, especially right now.
Oh yeah.
And for Hellboy fans, BPRD.
If you need to catch up like I do.
Oh, sorry about that.
Daddy and Me. It's written by Ludacris. Yeah. But it donates. What is it? It donates to his charity in Atlanta that helps kids discover music and get into it if they want to start recording music in Atlanta. So it's for a good cause. And also it's Ludacris.
Let's see. So King Diamond, basically a book, is a comic that is based off his concept album Abigail. Sonic the Hedgehog.
One more big boy.
Oh my god. Okay. 7 to Eternity.
That is hefty.
It's hefty, but this is really good binding. So it's issues 1 through 17. I've heard nothing but good things about this. I do not. I'm straight up. I do not.
No idea.
I apologize. Like, we're not gonna be like the show just like cuts off. Like no.
Like, never heard of it. Never gonna talk about it again.
I just read it back in the book. Like, oh, it's a concept comic. Cool. The Witcher is actually, again,
That
like
gorgeous.
right again. I just want it just to have in my collection. Oh, okay. This is really good.
That was beautiful.
Dangerous.
You could commit crimes with how hefty those books are anyways. Star Wars Crimson Reign. So if you have been behind on the Crimson Reign series, grab this because this is the trade for it for 1925. So if you're behind with issues 1925, pick this up. What is that? What is it?
You can go on through.
What If Miles Morales, which actually, yeah. So if you're behind on the entire What If of Miles Morales that came out over the summer, grab this because I might actually. So yeah, it's the trade for the What If series that's been going on and just recently ended.
So, Mad Woman of the Sacred Heart. So I'm going to be very careful about what I can actually show on this book. It's Mobius and what's this one man's name? Jodorowsky. I know who he is, but I cannot say his last name to save my life. I apologize if he's for that. But yeah, like the synopsis for this book sounds absolutely wild, and I am tempted to open this, but it's wrapped in plastic to keep people like me from opening it. Right, because I know the artwork is going to be a banger considering who worked on it. But yeah, there's some really good trades this week, so definitely do check out check out the trades.
Yeah. I don't know if I would show. I do want to show off this before we do bounce. So,
Sorry, guys.
It's called Neurocomic. So I read the back of this before the show started, and it talks about the brain, and it explains why certain parts of our brain cause other things to happen, and it talks about it from a perspective of somebody who wants to know about what's going on in their brain, but doesn't really know how to. It's written by 2 neurologists. That's something actually I want to grab, if I'm being completely honest. It seems really cool. Oh gosh, there's so many. Last Kids on Earth, The Forbidden Fortress. It's based off of the show that's been going on Netflix. That's a zombie apocalypse, essentially. Actually, I kind of want to watch the show on Netflix now. Mary Good Boy Goes to Hollywood. It's Mary Good Boy. It's because Jen reads out the synopses on our live sale show. And we only have 10 minutes left. So, Order of the Night, Jay. The entire half of this box is just kid stuff. Order of the Night, Jay, The Forest Beckons. It looks like it's for young adults, I think. Yes, for young adults, or older readers. We also have a Black Panther,
Like the little golden books.
yeah, and the Joker puzzler box. Otherwise, Jen will show off the rest of these on CBSN in about 10 minutes. So tune in then. I've been Liam.
Peace.
We'll see you next week.